Happy Hump Day, everybody, and welcome back to Brown Bag Bets, powered by BETSPERTS. We are your daily dose of quick hit handicapping and sports betting picks. I'm Alex Christenson. Joining me, as always, Mr. Andy Molitor, and a Wednesday surprise for us, a little midweek Fallica. How you doing today, Chris?
I'm doing well. I'm anxiously anticipating the visit from the blind slash drape slash curtain installer today to figure out how much I'm going to get bled out of my wallet this afternoon when my wife finally figures out what we want to do in the house. So I'm doing terrific.
It is a window treatment Wednesday here.
Yes, it is.
Like, oh man, I had a buddy who did that once, and he told me how incredibly expensive it was because he misplaced when he custom ordered all his blinds. He switched length and width, and they ordered blinds for the entire house that didn't fit, and had to do it twice. That's a lesson that can. I'm glad that's why you go with what Chris did there. Bring in a professional to handle that sort of stuff. Hopefully, it doesn't go nearly as bad as that.
That's the thing. I have no idea like what I'm even like potentially expecting to spend. So I guess that's kind of good and bad at the same time because they could like say any number and I'd be like, yeah, okay.
But that sounds right.
We'll see what happens.
We just need to hit a golf outright. That'll take care of all the business.
We do. We had a couple of top tens last week, and Connor's made a run and didn't ultimately get there. But yeah, we'll be all right. We'll get that. And I got some Australian Open live stuff going too that potentially could be very, very good. So we'll see what happens.
It's always good to know you can fill the time without football.
Yeah, and that's the stinky part. Like I love the playoffs so much, but I do miss Thursday football. I don't know. We said this yesterday, or Monday. Maybe we did say it Tuesday morning, to tell you the truth. We weren't so sure about this Monday football playoff thing. I'm not sure I loved it, stretching it out that far, even though I just complained about Thursday. But I think I'm going to be happy getting back to like a semi-normal playoff schedule this week. But yeah, like we mentioned, the Amex kicks off tomorrow.
This weekend's going to be great, by the way, for football. I can't wait. Like I don't know if I necessarily love anything. Like I can see myself once we get more injury news about the Niners. I could see myself getting on the Niners at 6. It seems like everybody loves the Bills, and that number's come down. I could see myself betting the Chiefs at 1. Could do that. I want no part of Rams Bucks because I think Tampa's offensive line problems could be a concern, and I want to bet the Bengals in the worst way, but I don't know if I can ultimately. I think people are making too big of a deal of Derrick Henry coming back and really looking at that. I mean, the Titans' record in one-score games, and you look at the last week of the year. I mean, they were in a brawl with the Texans. I mean, they lost to the Jets. Like, I don't know. They're a 1 seed in ranking only, but are they really that much better than? Since I don't know, we'll see. But from a viewing standpoint, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, this is a solid weekend of football. There's a lot of fun teams, a lot of young, fun quarterbacks, and I mean, especially the 2 AFC matchups. They can be fire. So I'm kind of in the same boat. I have a Tampa -2. Somebody was hanging. I said I'm just going to take this because it's going to be 3 in a couple hours, and it's really the only position I've taken. Like you said, waiting to hear. There's some injury news that it could be Green Bay -8 in a hurry if some injury news doesn't go the right way for the Niners, and there's a lot of things to look at there. So I'll be digging into that later in the week. I haven't done any. I'm looking at your golf card here, and I feel bad because I have personally not dug in deep enough into the Amex yet. I did some small bets last week. I did some the week before. Kind of taking it easy, like a couple outrights here, a couple matchups. But you've got a handful of guys you're looking at already.
Yeah, I do. Again, if you're looking just for the easy, quick, double your money type deal, I mean, Patrick Cantley to finish in the top 10 at plus 110 is something that it's kind of like the no-brainer pick of the week. I mean, he shot a course record 61 last year on the course. He's been runner-up there. He's done another top 10 finish. Like in this field with a good portion of the top 20 and the top 50 over in Dubai. I can't lean to finish in the top 10 is like your quick fix to kind of spin some money through and feel kind of good about it. John Rahm, obviously a big favorite. It's hard to play him at that price to win just because he hasn't played much lately. Can he win? Sure, but he's like minus 1,000 or something like that to make the cut. So I don't know. That's kind of insane. I don't know who'd want to lay that, but two guys I kind of looked at that were a little further down on the odds board. The first one was Abraham Answer, who was 25-1 and around plus 260 or so to finish in the top 10. I would think that he's probably going to be a bit of a popular pick for some people looking to beat Rahm, beat Cantley, consecutive top fives in 20 and 21. And I know he didn't play well at the Sony last week. He missed the cut, but I went back and looked, and like that's exactly what he did last year. He missed the cut at the Sony, came back to the West Coast, and played really, really well in this event, finishing the top five. So I wouldn't read too much into his struggles out in Hawaii, where the grass is different, course is different, the winds are different, everything's different. And then he came back and played a course that he loves. And that present top 10 is a really good number too, I thought. So that was one. And then Tony Finau is another guy who he's 20-1 to win and like around plus 225 to finish in the top 10. Another horse for course, which I think in the West Coast swing, that's something that I really look for, are guys that traditionally play well out west. He was kind of mocked and like the punching bag, and he finally got that win last year in a full field event. The biggest question is going to be is he's just played twice since Houston in November, but he's played. They were both top 20 finishes in the two events he did play. But again, with a good track record here, I'd be surprised if he didn't play well. So those are the two guys I'm really going to look to try and win and beat Cantley and beat Rahm with. And if you're looking for a couple of really crazier type top 10s or top 20s, and you want to go way down the board, Adam Hadwin is someone who has had a great course history here from 5-year span, or should say 4-year span, 16, 17, 18, 19. He won T6, 2, T3, and T2. So he has a great course record here, but his form has really been off in the last year and a half or so. But if you want to take an optimistic point of view, he was tied for 6th at the Shriners, which was out west in Nevada back in November. I think that tournament was. So maybe you return to the West Coast in a comfortable, familiar type setting. You can get him at around plus 550 or so to finish in the top 10 and plus 250 to finish in the top 20. And then even further down is Francesco Molinari. Molinari is plus 1,200 to finish in the top 10, plus 500 to finish in the top 20. He's someone who, after that blow up in the Masters where he hit the tree and went in the water, his game really, really struggled. And I think if you look at the COVID year in 2020, he had a lot of stuff going on in his personal life, like family, and separated between the U.S. and Italy. He didn't play well, but he's a guy in the West Coast. If you look at last year, top 10s at the Farmers, top 10s. Genesis tied for 8th last year. Again, this is a guy at a big number. It might be worth a half a unit or so to maybe see if he can come back again in a West Coast swing and finish the top 10 or top 20. So I know I just kind of rambled on with give you the column recap there. So guys, certainly feel free to chime in, because I know people are tired of hearing from me.
I was going to say, I love Molinari, and that year or so where he was like competing to win big tournaments was a lot of fun. I wonder kind of what happened to him. What'd you think of all that, Andy? I know you're a little more apt at the golf.
I was just laughing at like Chris's horse player showing through there as he's talking about Rahm like it's the 1-2 favorite on the card and the third at Santa. He's talking about here's some players that I need to use to beat Rahm. It's just like how horse players talk. It's funny, and it's an apt comparison because Rahm is quickly maybe not at the level that Tiger was in the peak of some of those betting markets, but he's quickly becoming like, hey, Rahm's in the field. He's going to be like 4-1. He's going to be 5-1. You're going to be able to find some value on some pretty good names who might have much lower odds. And that's kind of the way I've been approaching this in the little time I've spent on this too. It's like, who am I going to use to beat Rahm? And is it maybe, hedging my bets with some top 5, top 10s when Rahm is, 4 strokes clear on Sunday and I'm feeling dumb about not doing that. So I do like the inclusion of some top 10 bets. I think that's something that was missing from my golfing betting in years past, where I didn't do enough of that. It's like, man, I was right. This guy played really well.
Mm-hmm.
He just ran into a buzzsaw and somebody else won by 3 strokes. So I will, and yeah, Dan is chiming in here too. There have been a lot of long shots that have won this tournament. It's a weird one with the 3 courses. You've got to have guys who can just rip through La Quinta and the Nicholas course and then try to manage their game on the tough stadium course where they play once during the 3-course rotation and once again on Sunday. So I'll probably have something out. I'll put out some picks later on today, but for now I'm in the same boat as Chris. It's just trying to figure out a way to beat Rahm here.
And that's something too that you mentioned, the course rotation. Always, if you're looking for those first round leader bets, like I know a couple people last week that had Jim Furyk as a first round leader, and someone had it was someone like Henley, I think, for first round too, and then Kevin Na came and got them. Just make sure you look at that course rotation, and then that way you can try and figure out who's got the easier course run for the first round.
Yeah,
a lot like trying to figure out. Yeah, a lot like trying to figure out who to beat, like you were talking about with Rahm here. That's kind of a lot how some of these tennis tournaments work. I mean, on the men's side, we're missing one big name, but it's still kind of Medvedev or bust. On the women's side, a little more open. It's kind of Barty. Personally, for me, the winner of that Barty-Osaka match is going to, I think, be in a great spot. But some fun names overall. Go ahead, jump in, Bear.
I was going to say I wouldn't sell Amanda Anisimova short against Naomi Osaka in that next round. Like Anisimova was fantastic last night against Bencic, and we'll see what Osaka can do moving forward. Like she played well enough to beat an overmatched opponent in the first round, but that is a great. There are a lot of really good potential third round matchups in this, and one of them is on the men. You touched on the men's side, and before the tournament, I got Carlos Alcaraz at 40-1 because I knew he was in the Djokovic draw, and I didn't expect the Australian government to allow Djokovic to play, and I was right. And now he's down to 25-1, which I still think is a really good play because he's got Matteo Berrettini in the third round, and Berrettini's looked okay, dropped a set last night to a wild card, and he was fine in his opener, but Alcaraz has been incredible in his first couple of matches. Like his game, the added strength that muscle he's put on in the off season, his serve is much better. The hard court is an event that he should flourish in. Like he's 25-1 to win the tournament. I think he's still around plus 350 or so to win the quarter. Like if he beats Berrettini in the third round, I don't want to say he should walk to the semifinal, but he'd be in a very, very good position to get to the semifinal, where he would likely meet Alex Zverev. And if you're holding Alcaraz at 25-1 to win the tournament, and Zverev will be favored, but you're still in a position to be able to play around with that ticket. So I think Alcaraz. I think the winner of that match, if it is Alcaraz versus Zverev in the semifinal, will be a very, very live play in the final. Of course, you've got Medvedev on the other side looking to win his second consecutive slam, but Zverev at plus 300 or so, 330 or so was the other guy I would look at playing to win the event on the men's side.
Yeah, I had some Berrettini pre-tournament. I think you're right. The winner of this match is in a really good spot. Either way, if you've got some Alcaraz there, some Zverev, you're holding a nice kind of combined plus money ticket on whoever the finalist is in the top half. And I think it's going to be tough to go against Medvedev. I actually backed him a little bit pre-tournament because, like you said, that price started to move around. We weren't sure if Novak was going to play, and then the draw came out, and everybody else was in Novak's half anyway, and they left the Medvedev price at like plus 150, plus 60. So I like kind of what you're doing there. Did you have any outrights on the men's side, Andy? I can't remember if you sprinkled some anyway in the background.
Like you said, the same thing was like, well, what's Medvedev's number if this visa application doesn't go through? So I took a little of that, just basing like this number doesn't get worse ever. The only way this number can go is the right way for me. So I do have a small stake on Medvedev, but mostly my women's outrights that you put me on, and then I think it was Krejcikova, some Iga, and a couple more that are sitting okay. So
Krejcikova, Iga, and Rybakina is what we started with there.
Yeah, that's what I ended up with there.
And yeah, before we jump to the women's, you did bet
like
Medvedev to win the quarter at 250. That makes sense. I mean, it's juicy, but you put all those prices together, you don't get to 250.
Yeah, I did the exact same thing because he'll be greater than a 250 favorite, I would think, in that quarterfinal. And if you want to get off it, you'll be able to probably find yourself a little bit, name your profit, I would think, depending on who he would draw in that quarterfinal match. But I'm glad you mentioned Iga because you talk about winning quarters as well. Like you can still get her at around plus 175 or so to win her quarter. And like that, it's funny. I've got in one of my Connecticut-based apps here. Like I've just been getting like free bets, like due to when I'm churning. And like every single day, I just keep it. Every free bet I get, I'm like betting Iga to win her quarter. I'm like, why is she plus money? With like Sabalenka is like a head case, and that was one of the plays I actually liked tonight. That Sabalenka Wang match over 19.5 games. I mean, Sabalenka looked like she was in jeopardy of losing that first round match, and she finally got her serve together. But Wang, I think can hang around there and at least get it to a couple of maybe a tiebreak, maybe a 6-4 or a 7-5 set. So if you're looking at Iga versus Sabalenka in the quarter, I mean, Iga's going to be a massive favorite, I would think, in that match. And I'd have her to win as well. I played her 12-1 pre-tourney. I was a little late to the party there because you could have gotten her at around 16 or 18 earlier. I know everyone, look, Barty's been great. I just wonder at some point, maybe the fact that the crowds aren't huge might help her, but I think at some point there might be a psychological deal, a pressure deal, trying to win this slam in her home country, something that no Aussie's done on the women's side for quite some time now. And the other person I think on the women's side, the other woman that I played to win it outright, I played Iga, was Garbiñe Muguruza. I think she's gone completely under the radar here. You can still have her at around plus 12 or 13-1 to win. She had match points against Osaka last year, who went on to win. She had a great year last year. She's healthy now. She's been playing fantastic, and I would like her draw potentially as well. But so I think she's someone who you can still get. I think there's the least difference between her pre-tournament price and her price right now. So I think Muguruza is flying a little bit underneath the radar of both the betting public and the odds makers right now. She's a great player.
I love Swiatek.
You've got to have the power to beat someone like Barty or Iga, and I think both Iga and Muguruza would be two people that I would really like their chances if they do wind up facing Barty or Osaka.
Yeah, I like Swiatek. I mean, if Osaka does win here, it'd be her first time she ever defended a title. Obviously, it doesn't happen a lot in the Grand Slam stage of things. We're a little spoiled on the men's side, maybe a little too used to that. But I like both of those picks. I will say Rybakina, though, was the name that I had picked out in that third quarter. Muguruza has been playing some great tennis, but I'm curious to see how she does. As she gets older, the later she gets into tournaments, the things fall apart just a bit more. Mm-hmm. But I think Swiatek's a great pick. I like that quite a bit. And then the name I had in the top half was Krejcikova. I think she just continues to win, and kind of the variety of her game from all that doubles and just the mental advantage, honestly, that she has of having, half a dozen Grand Slams already as a doubles player. I mean, playing like this is kind of old hat for her, even though singles is obviously a little different, but I like everything you got there.
It's amazing. I'm glad you mentioned the double because she's talked about it. Coco Gauff has talked about it, like playing the doubles and how much that has really impacted and improved and helped their singles game. So yeah, that's being a great double. It certainly now it's good to see it translate to her being a very, very good singles player.
Yeah.
And to kind of close the book on the Australian angle too, like that's something that's going to get mentioned the deeper Barty gets. It's like this will be the first. I had to go check. I couldn't. I just assumed it was Margaret Court. It was not. It was someone called, Chris O'Neill. 1978, the last Australian woman to win the home tournament.
Everyone knows that.
Chris O'Neill. And I feel like, in Australia, they probably do it. It's probably going to get mentioned a lot in the media, and she's going to get asked that question. And there is a little bit of pressure from the home crowd to come through and be the first champion in, 50 plus years or 40. My math is not good. Let's call it 44. 44.
A long time.
I really pumped up that math there. I was.
That's okay. That's what we do. We deal in numbers and math, so we're all good. You talked about the pressure and like the mental aspect as well. There was one other match tonight that I did like was Danka Kavinic getting the 5.5 games against Emma Raducanu. Again, she won the U.S. Open, had that magical run, and then fall swing, whether it was the end of an emotional year with a lot of pressure. She hasn't been the same dominant type player since then. Maybe she'll ramp it up now, but she kind of struggled in her opener, which is to be expected. But I think Kavinic plus 5.5 games at even money is something that I would look at tonight.
Yeah, I like that. I was kind of leaning that way. It's just so tough for me to handicap Emma, given she basically had only played 2 tour level matches before last year, and then just kind of rips through. I mean, had a good Wimbledon, played a nice little grass season too before that U.S. Open run. So I mean, it wasn't just kind of the U.S. Open title, but it's hard to take those 3 months and look at everything else around it and figure out what the heck's going on.
Yeah, she's a difficult problem to handle. That's the beauty, especially we're still in the first week here. There's so many matches to look at. So I'll have some ATP out later today. I haven't had a chance to break everything down today. I went 1-1 last night. My dog didn't cover, so no harm, no foul for me last night. Just
I don't know who your dog was, but was it Oscar Ote?
No, I ended up piling on a bad number on Mackenzie.
Okay, yeah, because I like everyone I know seems to have had like Oscar Ote last night, and like it was I had bad Oscar Ote. I'm like, okay, like everyone had him, so there was clearly some type of metric or a statistic or something where there was a big discrepancy between what they felt the ratings between Ote and what the price had. So, but good, I'm glad you did not lose with Ote.
I didn't watch the match I lost. It happened at like 2 a.m, so it was nice. Like the one I won, I got to go to bed with a winner, knowing like, hey, worst case we break even, and you wake up to worst case. Congrats to Riley Opelka looked pretty good.
Yeah, he did.
Honestly, some problems from Kepfer. Like Kepfer looked worse than Riley Opelka looked good, but Opelka was good enough to get the straight set win for me there, and we'll be back at her tonight.
Yeah, I was mad at myself because instead of playing Kekmanic to win the match, I just took him plus the 5.5 games, and I mean it could have gone either way. Whether tie breaks involved there, but felt like I let one get away there by not just taking him outright.
Gotta sprinkle the money line.
Handicap.
Yeah, a little sprinkle never hurts. So, all right. Well, we wish you the best of luck with all your tennis tonight and throughout the fortnight, and hopefully you can catch yourself an outright in the golf market too. Like I said, I'll have some stuff out later, but you can find the Bear at Chris Fallica on Twitter. I'm sure he'll be talking about just about every other sport there is to bet.
We'll maybe be able to even throw a pick 5 out there at Gulfstream or something. Who knows?
Yeah, there's also some horse content too. So we appreciate your time, and we'll catch you next week. Have a good one.
Take care, guys. Have a great week.
All right.
Like I said, my ATP is not ready. I'm still baking that, but Alex obviously puts them in the app already, and he's got a handful here, and we'll head right to it.
Fallica already gave one out. We have an unexpected Fallica consensus. We'll get to that shortly, though. Begu plus 190, the first one here. Just grabbing her on the money line. She goes against Elise Mertens, someone who is a pretty solid tour veteran, but the last year or so having kind of not a rapid decline, but a slow and steady decline. Begu, I think someone been very underrated on hard courts. Has played some nice tennis down under here. I have this much closer to kind of plus 150 for Begu, so anything plus 180 or better looks good for me there. Kanepi Buzkova over 21. This is a match over 20 and a half. I'm sorry. There's some 21s out there. 21 at standard juice is fine. 20 and a half at minus 120 or better looks good. This is a match I would have lined at 21 and a half, a juicy 21 and a half. I may have even contemplated a 22 here. Both of these women play very long sets. You go back and look at their history. There's been at least a set of 7-5 or 7-6 in each one of those matches. Just the style of play and both of them here. There's a decent chance we see see 3 sets here, but just really like this total much better than the 3-set price that I saw. So over 20.5, over 21 at standard juice looks good. And then the Sabalenka Wang Jinyu match, I not only took the over 19.5 like Mr. Fallica suggested, I'm going to take the +5 with Wang. She's plus 350 to win the match, which is actually pretty close to where I have it. But the spread, if I was hanging it, would be closer to 4, honestly. So to get across 4.5, to even get the 5 here at standard juice looks pretty good. Again, the 19.5, I have this at 20.5, maybe even 21 as you start to tweak some stuff. Sabalenka does still look vulnerable, but part of the up and down nature of her game means at a moment's notice she can kind of snap into some form here. So 6-4, 6-4 looks pretty solid to me. Again, if Wang can steal a set here, it'll look pretty good. Don't mind anybody sprinkling the money line, but that looked just about right to me. And the last one here, Danielle Collins playing Anna Konyu. This is, I think we're going to see either 2 long sets, probably 3. Should be a very competitive match. I do think Collins ultimately wins it. This is kind of one of the rare situations where the money line on Konyu is right around plus 180, maybe a touch of value there. I would have it right around plus 160, but even at that kind of a disparaging money line, it's still a much higher total than what we're seeing here. 20.5, 21 looks good to me. This should be 21.5, and then over 2.5 sets, anything plus 150 or better looks good.
Not related to Phil Collins. I just looked that up.
Sadly, no.
Not the same family. There's some famous families in tennis, the Pagula and things of that nature. College hoops bets real quick. 3-3 yesterday. A very disappointing ending in the middle of the day. A team falling down 6 with 4 seconds to lose by 8. I got the 8. Some people probably got some 8s for the push. I'm guessing most got the 7.5, and that had to be heartbreaking. Hurt my heart. Not a good way to start the day, but a couple of the underdogs came through, got one of my totals, but kind of just another ho-hum day as we spray the board again with G-Wash. This one's moving too. This was 10 when I clicked it, 9.5 with the when I ended up placing the bets. I was a little mad I lost a half point by being a little slow this morning, but George Washington plus 9.5, back to the USC Upstate plus 12.5. That's a team I've backed a couple times here. I'm going to until they start falling apart or these numbers get adjusted. Drake overs. I'm not sure how that's done for me, but those are something I've targeted a few times. So Drake over 136, Illy State, Mizzy State over 147. CSU here stands for Charleston Southern. I'm just trying to save some space. Charleston Southern, high point. I hope the high point in the scoring is 137 because I took under 137.5. Radford and Hampton, under 132.5. And then finally Campbell, a lot of Big South action today. Campbell and Longwood over 129. Not a whole lot to say about those, mostly because we've already been on the air for 28 minutes, and I'm ready to just get to the NBA.
Jump into some basketball, a very, very big slate here. Well, I guess in professional basketball, Andy was just talking about basketball, but huge slate in the NBA tonight. Again, only 2 games last night, so a couple big slates kind of sandwiched around them. Start with the Atlanta Hawks -2. This is actually, it looks like it's hovering at 1.5. There's still some 2s somewhere. They host Minnesota Timberwolves team that got the team total over for us last night, but played a lot of minutes, really exerted a lot of energy there. You could see how excited they were to win in New York. I think this is a really nice letdown spot for them. It's a terrible schedule spot for them. The Hawks quietly getting healthy. I think they're still going to be without Clint Capella tonight, but they have enough, talent, not only in the starting lineup, but I think finally kind of the Hawks being healthy. And I know Dan wants to fade them, but I have to. I gotta back them here. I think the second unit's going to do really nice. Feels like a Kevin Huerter game, if that means anything to anybody. But I have this closer to 4.5, not quite 5. So Hawks -2 or better looks pretty good to me. The Cleveland Cavaliers -3. I don't. This one's kind of funky. I don't know if I'm missing something or maybe somebody else is missing something here. But the Chicago Bulls don't really have a guards left. Caruso's out. Levine is out. Lonzo Ball is out. Yes, they have some other players, of course, but not really of much consequence. I'm happy to go here with a Cavs team that looks like they're healthy. Darius Garland's been kind of beat up a little bit, but I believe he's going to be all right tonight. Either way, with Mobley, with Jared Allen, this Cavaliers team has just been one of the best teams in the league this year. Happy to back them at a small number again, anything -3 or better. And then the Mavericks, I kind of went back and forth on this one. The Mavericks just ripping through the NBA the last 5 to 7 games and being priced at some just outrageously big numbers. I mean, we got the Thunder cover 11.5 for us the other night in a game that I couldn't really get out to deep more than 6 without making some really big adjustments here, but showing some value on them. And I think a lot of it's derived from the fact that the Raptors continue to really struggle outside of Toronto. Kind of the end of a road trip for them, a tough spot. I think the Mavs put one on them tonight. Again, I had this closer to 7 or 8 myself. So Hawks -2, Cavs -3, Mavs -4, and what is a very nice and neat, organized looking slide.
I liked it. All right. Well, if you wanted something to bet tonight, there you go. You've got golf.
Just a few
You've
things.
got tennis. You've got women's tennis. I like how I said tennis and women's tennis. Men's tennis and women's tennis. That didn't feel very inclusive of me. That felt bad. You've got college basketball. You got NBA. Yeah, they say just tennis and then women's tennis. It is funny. A lot of books won't say like men's college basketball. It's NCAA basketball and then women's NCAA basketball. We're going to have to go change the world on that one. But with that, I do ask you to like, subscribe, rate, review, all that jazz, especially if you're in the YouTube. Hit me with the thumbs up. We'll catch you here tomorrow. Enjoy the afternoon AFCON.